Welcome back. This is Star Wars Connection. My name is Lee, and I'm here with Denise. If you're just joining us, we are having a conversation about the D23 Expo and the behind-the-scenes reel that was released there, as well as the posters that were unveiled for The Last Jedi. There's a companion discussion where we talked about the reel and we did a little breakdown of each scene, and you can find that on our YouTube page. In this part of the conversation, we're going to be talking about the new promotional posters as well as some cast commentary, and we're going to be putting it all together, talking about what we think can be gleaned from these materials. So let's jump right into our D23 poster discussion.
One thing that we've been kind of dipping into but not really getting into fully is the color symbolism. So let's talk a little bit about the color red. We knew that it was going to be a big part of this movie from early on with the release of the poster showing the three main players in the Force plot, all red with some light strategically placed. So we knew that kind of set a tone for this movie. But then in the footage that's been released, there's also pops of red that are interesting. And then the posters that have been released, everybody's cloaked in red, which, wow, aside from the fact that it's such a bold, dramatic color, it has a lot of symbolism in Star Wars for the dark side, for the Sith, for the lightsabers when people have been corrupted. So it's very telling. Any thoughts about that, Denise?
Well, I was thinking more about the third act on Crate, how you have that red dust being uncovered and how symbolic it is. It seems that all characters are gonna meet there, gonna be there. So there's something that's gonna be uncovered, and I just wanted to tie to the novel Bloodline, and I've heard that Claudia Gray, she was working closely with Rian Johnson when she did it, which deals a little bit with, legacy and uncovering truths and everything. So I feel that it's on this sense, I feel that it's more on blood than on dark side. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that the symbolism behind the red is power and intensity, life's blood, sacrifice, all this stuff.
And it reminds me of Rian Johnson talking about his take on drafting The Last Jedi, where he sat down and thought what would be the single biggest challenge that he could throw at each character. So the characters draped in red, to me, it speaks to that in a way, that they're facing a big challenge. They're people who are in crisis. Maybe they're at their breaking point in some cases, and that can mean different things for each of them. Also, the color red can symbolize that the dark side is casting a shadow over everyone, so that it's more dominant for a time. Traditionally, in the second installment is when the dark side kind of gathers steam.
But I do think that it's interesting when you cloak key players that are Force users in red, like Luke and like Rey. Kylo, not so much because he's already on the dark side. But for me, when I see Luke draped in red, we've been thinking that Luke has been placed as more of an antagonist than Kylo in a lot of the scenes that we've seen, a lot of the materials that have been released. Like on the poster, we said he looks like the main antagonist, not Kylo. And then the fact that some of the body language in the posters that have been shown point to Rey and Kylo diverging from Luke's direction. It's just very interesting where he seems more like the looming sinister figure as opposed to Rey and Kylo, who seem to be more aligned. And then Rey seems to be more aligned towards Kylo, and she's cloaked in red as well. And she's exploring her identity as a Force user. And we know from the hero's journey, we've talked about that quite a bit, that in this part of her journey, she has to face darkness within herself and also externally, and then decide where she stands in relation to it and either embrace it or reject it. This is very cool just to see her covered in red like that, and then to see Daisy Ridley also dressed in red at the panel that we talked about in Orlando. There's just really cool symbolism with the color that I'm curious to see explored more.
On the posters also, it's interesting to note that you only have heroes and Kylo, so I'm assuming Kylo might be one of the heroes based on the marketing, how he's being marketed, just like the other ones. There is no difference between them, and how you don't really see their faces, which is really neat, except for Kylo, right? But you don't really see it, he's sideways, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's something actually that Felix from Star Wars Connection pointed out, and she's really good at like the symbolism stuff, if you remember her from the visual storytelling podcast. She pointed out that Kylo is the only one who is facing directly away from the camera. In the poster lineup, he is looking in a completely different direction. Everybody else is, even though we don't get to see their face, they are turned towards the front. What does does it mean? Kylo is in kind of like a transition period. Kylo is the one who hasn't really figured it out. Everybody else stands for something, and Kylo is turned away. So it's like he doesn't even know what he stands for. At least that's what we get looking at that.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Another thing that we wanted to talk about in regards to the posters, some of you may be familiar with a reporter named Anthony Bresnikan, who has a close relationship, I think, with Lucasfilm, and he's done a lot of reporting on Star Wars, and he seems to get like insider scoop type things, and he works for Entertainment Weekly, and he did a series on the posters. It's really interesting. We're going to provide a link so you guys can go check it out. He basically does a little breakdown of each character describing their poster picture. So for Poe, the title is The Pilot. For his little blurb, he talks about the meaning of the color red. Luke is called the Warrior. He says red is the color of blood. It talks about, the Skywalker family and how they have shed a lot of blood over the course of the saga. And then Rey is described as the protege, and the question is, who is she the descendant of and all that stuff, but it doesn't really look like we're going to get to know that in The Last Jedi. But for Finn, he calls him the big deal, which I love, because Finn really is a big deal here, and it's just so great to see his journey. I think that Finn's character arc is really tight in that way. It's very rewarding to think of him progressing, blossoming before our eyes in a way. Next, there is Leia, the general. Bresnikan actually mentions how Leia is draped in red, and that's the color of the Sith, and how she has spent her life trying to distance herself from her dad and all that stuff, but it ended up consuming her son. By the way, Leia has that very cool ring that was such a mystery and such a source of discussion for a lot of people. The ring with, I would say it's a sapphire, but it's a blue stone, and it's got two of them, and people are saying, oh my god, it's because Kylo and Rey are twins.
Yeah.
No. But I think it probably symbolizes her and Luke. I think that's a pretty cool piece of jewelry there. But anyway, off topic. Next we have Kylo Ren and the Lost. That's his description. And it talks about his crossguard lightsaber and all that. But that's not really what I would focus on looking at the poster. We talked about it already. He is definitely lost, and his body language is conveying it. The shots that we've seen of him and the poster, I think, does a good job of portraying that as well. But I like him here. He does look powerful. He looks like if you piss him off, he could really do some damage, and we know that he can. I'm hoping, honestly, that they don't fully, like, how to say it, woobify him. I don't want to see Kylo sad and moping all of The Last Jedi. I want to see him kick some ass.
But we will, right? He's seen fighting a lot of people, which I love, fight of one against many. There were the early reports that Luke would fight against many people, that I wasn't sure about him. I'm still not sure about him. But we know that Rey and Kylo are going to fight many people, which is...
Yes,
right.
But here's the thing, and I think this is a good kind of transition into talking about the actual expo, the D23 and the cast and all that stuff. I think I understand at least why they're doing it. They're keeping Kylo under wraps. We've talked about it before. They're not showing us the key stuff that Kylo's going to do or be. They're just showing us a softer side of him, which is very cool, because I think it's preparing people for the fact that this is not going to be the big bad.
They're not going to show us the twists in the material. So if they're not showing us a lot of Kylo, it probably means that a lot of Kylo is actually going to be a twist, and it's exciting, and it means that our speculation is heading in the right direction.
But at the same time, it's just frustrating as a Kylo fan, as an Adam Driver fan. I mean, at least let him talk. I want to hear him talking in these conferences. Why wasn't he at D23? Why was everybody else there but him?
And I love Adam Driver as an actor. I think he's, to me, one of the most gifted actors in his age range. And I'm expecting to see even, more amazing things from him in years to come. So I understand that everybody wants to work with him and he's super busy. And if that's the reason why he's not showing up to any of the events, then I'm happy for him and I have zero problem with that. But the thing is, there's another actor who's very busy too and also very desirable right now, who's Oscar Isaac. And he doesn't make it to every event, but they mention him, they talk about him, they show pictures of him. So I don't think it's about Adam Driver's schedule. I think this is Lucasfilm's idea of good marketing strategy, and in my opinion, it actually blows. It's like we're all supposed to pretend that Kylo Ren and Adam Driver don't exist. I guess my question is, can we find a comfortable middle where we're not spoiling his arc and we're keeping him under wraps, but we're not trying to obliterate him and minimize his character? I feel like they're just overdoing it with the whole keep Kylo secret, keep Kylo safe, like he's the one ring and the fandom's the Eye of Sauron or something. It's just ridiculous, and it's frustrating, and it's tiresome, and I don't like it one bit. I think I've spoken about it for a good 5 minutes, so you can tell. that it really bugs me. And I don't think people are bothered by the fact that he's moping all the time, because it is a good sign, but it's getting to be a little bit too much for me as well. Mopey Kylo is fine for a little bit, but not the whole dang marketing campaign. I have to tell you, the first time that I saw Kylo Ren, it was in a teaser for The Force Awakens. With his lightsaber, he was attacking somebody. I didn't know who it was. It turned out to be Finn, and he was doing this amazing spin. I was just so impressed by his swagger. I was impressed by his flair, and I thought he was super cool, and I was just looking forward to seeing him and getting to know who this guy was. This was like a year and a half ago. It was 2 seconds of my life, but I remember it. It's engraved somewhere in my brain, because that kind of marketing is just as powerful in shaping opinion and making an impression as what they're attempting to do with this downtrodden and defeated version of Kylo, which is demoralizing to me. They're overdoing it. It's overkill at this point. Kylo is a very layered and complex character. So he can suffer and cry, but he can also kick your butt and be strong and confident at the same time. That's what makes him so awesome. So you can't lean him too strongly in one way and neglect the other. He can suffer internally and still kick ass externally. You know what I mean? For me, now Kylo's gonna be the new Luke, and that's terrifying. For a while, it was like, okay, this is picture number 73 of Luke, who is looking pissed on a rock, but it's a different rock from the one that we showed you last time. Kylo's not in a good way. Luke's not in a good way. Got it.
I want to see more Kylo action. You know, throw the fans a little meat. We love this character and we want to see more. Not spoil stuff, obviously not, but like, I don't know. It's just hard being a fan these days, you guys. I know you disagree. I know that you actually have helped me bear it, because you've told me many times, well, it's still early. 6 months. Well, it's 5 months now. But there's still so much time between now and the release of the movie, so I'm sure we'll see more between now and then.
You know what? There's hope. It's not only Luke pissed off on a rock, there's also Luke pissed off in a cave. So... So it's different.
I'm actually really pleased with what we did see of Luke here. Just that shot of him holding Anakin's lightsaber. I got goosebumps all over. And somebody was mentioning, think about when the last time that he saw that was. Oh, I haven't seen you since my dad chopped my hand off. It's like it's an emotional moment for him, and for us.
Yeah, absolutely. The cave as well. I don't know. I like the idea that we're gonna have like this cave also has this mysterious transformational, and it ties to the cave of Dagobah and everything. So that's also something that I'm looking forward to see what's gonna happen.
There's that whole kind of tying into, and Rey's gonna maybe learn something of the Jedi lore there. We wanted to talk a little bit about what the cast said about the movie, right? In the behind the scenes footage. And two things that really struck me were when Daisy Ridley says that this is gonna be unexpected and that people are gonna be like, oh my God, that Rian Johnson wrote a story that is different, but it's right. So she's telling us, and she's been telling us, that there's going to be a lot of unexpected things going on that are going to shock people, and that might be hard to accept initially, but then it's going to sink in and you're going to realize that, this is the right thing to do.
I'm guessing it's not anything that anybody in the fandom has been speculating, because if it had been, we would know. So I think there could be a twist that people are actually not seeing, so it would be super cool.
That would be interesting. I hope so. I hope so.
But what I would like, but I'm pretty sure it's not true. They find out Kylo is Lucas.
Oh my God!
Well,
I don't know that anybody would call that the right thing to do.
Well.
Unless you're a Targaryen. Maybe Kylo is Jon Snow. Well, Kylo's been Jon Snow all along.
Oh, you know what? People are complaining that Luke doesn't have a child. People are saying that, and there's all this revelation about family. Okay, I'm joking. I don't think that's it, but I think it's gonna be something really shocking like that.
I think that's an interesting thought. For me, and I'm looking at this through my Reylo colored lenses, I think that they're just preparing people for the fact that Kylo and Rey are going to be a thing. They're going to kiss and they're going to have Force babies. And it seems shocking, but it's the right thing to do. So, and I'm only half kidding. I think that's what it's referring to. That being said, I would love it if it was something else that as long as we've obsessed over this and speculated and stayed up late talking about it and writing about it, maybe nobody has touched on it. Maybe it is something super shocking after all. I saw somebody saying online that it was something to do with the Force.
Yeah.
That we're going to learn unexpected things about the Force. And that would be cool too. But I think it's more to do with the characters and character arcs.
But
more than like knowledge.
Yeah, we are, I think, going to learn what happened to Kylo, and there's definitely a twist there that, you know, but then a lot of people saw it coming, that, you know, it isn't, you know, as simple as that. Oh, and maybe we're gonna learn what Kylo is trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And that could be quite interesting as well. And we could maybe learn something about Anakin Vader. That is something that we did not know. That could be super interesting as well.
Yeah, I wonder too if it ties into the whole Luke, the big bad here, or not the big bad, but that Luke is an evil element, or not evil Luke, but more like not good. 100% good Luke, which is a key thing for his character in the original trilogy. So taking that away or tainting it in any way would be shocking and kind of devastating for people. But then when you look at the story as a whole, you come to terms with it and realize that it was the right thing to do.
Could be, but if they go that route, they better give us a pretty damn good story, you know? Because if they're gonna piss off and tarnish the memory of a beloved character, you better be sure that where you're going is, you know, you have to. Yeah, you can do it, but you need to give us a good story, especially if, you know, if Luke doesn't have a child, Luke doesn't have a legacy. I know people laugh about everybody that wants, but, you know, it makes sense. People that have loved this character for years to want him to have a legacy, and, you know, so yeah.
You know, I hear you, and I hear what people say when they say that. But to the point that you made about Poe earlier, and this is something that Mark Hamill has actually said, that he really likes the fact that Luke's sexuality is also ambiguous. We don't know for sure that he's straight. We don't know for sure that he doesn't have, you know, a meaningful relationship, and maybe it's with a man. So that could be it too. So I'm okay if Luke doesn't have a kid, because I think that as long as we have a Skywalker, and we already do, and it's Kylo, I'm fine with that. But I hear what you're saying, and I think that Luke's legacy could be more about Force teachings and making Rey his successor in a way, because Kylo chose not to be.
Yeah, I want a legacy. It doesn't need to be kids, but a legacy. And, you know, when we hear that his order was destroyed and everything, I don't know, it needs to have a continuity, something that, you know, the idea of a saga that, you know, continues. So I think it's really important.
I agree. The other thing, speaking of Luke, Mark Hamill also talked about there being unexpected twists here. And we heard, of course, reports about him not being happy at all with things when he read the script, talking to Rian Johnson about it, and then deciding to trust him, and then coming to terms with everything. So I wonder if that's going to be our reaction too. I think that would apply more to like the traditional OT fans who want things to remain, and it sounds like Rian Johnson is going to challenge that.
Yeah,
so very interesting.
That could be. But, you know, our side of the fandom, I would like to think that we're bigger than this, and that, you know, we are sort of mainstream in a way. Maybe not, I don't know. You know, and that's something that would be just related to Reylo, wouldn't be necessarily be shocking. No, I'm not talking about Luke, but, you know, about the whole oh my god thing, you know, there's something more.
Oh, you mean like the Reylo backlash?
No, I'm saying that, you know, Daisy Ridley says that it's gonna say oh my god, and that there's gonna be something shocking. I think it's not gonna be just Reylo. I'm hoping for something more interesting than that.
I'm hoping for something more interesting too, for sure. I mean, for me, that wouldn't be much of a twist, because we called it after we saw the movie the first time in December. So it wouldn't be a twist. But I'm thinking of the mainstream audience, as you say. We still get comments on our videos, and some of them we don't post them when they call us names. we post critical comments for sure. So when people tell us like, oh, you guys are just reading into it because that's what you want to see happen, we post that. But when people call us, you know, crazy bitches, what are you talking about? We don't post that. We get a lot of hate just for expressing that we want Reylo.
No, get me wrong, we get a lot of love. Like, we get awesome feedback from people, but there's that feedback that's just a little bit salty.
When people say, well, maybe that's normal in your part of the country for cousins to be banging. So I think that a lot of people will be shocked out of their seat if Reylo becomes a thing on screen. But you're right. I'm hoping that it's still something bigger than that. And for sure, there's got to be more than one twist, right? It's Star Wars. Another key quote from the footage is Carrie Fisher saying, it's about family.
And we know what's going to happen, right? It's going to be revealed that Rey is Luke's daughter. That's obviously what it means. We know it. We knew it.
So funny. People are posting Reylo found dead in Miami because of that quote. It's like,
really?
come on.
Yeah, really? I was joking. I didn't think, look
know people are actually thinking that. Yeah, of course it's about family because, you know, it's Kylo and his cousin and Luke and his daughter. But kidding aside, it just means so much for her to say that's what it's about. It's about families. This family is split up. This family is suffering and they have to be healed and they have to come together when all is said and done because this is Star Wars. I think that more than anything else that we saw in the reel, aside from Kylo, you know, looking how he looks, I think there's going to be a reunion, you know, and at least between Luke and Kylo at some point, they're going to hopefully heal their rift. I'm really, really hoping that Kylo and Leia get to reunite, but, you know, maybe that won't happen.
Yeah, but I think even if they don't reunite, some things about family, because the family there, we're talking about Kylo and his uncle and his mother, and, you know, that's the big family that we have there. Although we also have Rey and Finn, you know, that they are sort of a family.
They're a new family, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you have the sisters, Rose and Paige. So, yeah, it is about family. Love, sacrifices, and breakups and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you're family, so you're always connected.
That's why I find so significant the scenes in Crate with the red dust coming. That's why I think it's this blood coming out, being uncovered, and how, you know, it's about blood and family. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. People say, well, how can Kylo ever be redeemed? After all he did, he killed his dad. Leia's not going to want anything to do with him, and Rey will never forgive him because he killed her father figure. Like, this is Star Wars, and of course Kylo can come back from something like that. It's going to take a lot of work, but it seems like they're putting that work in to make that happen in a way that's realistic and that we can accept. Not something like last 5 minutes, oh, I decide I'm going to switch over to the light. It's a process and it's happening. I think that the quotes that they picked for this were very well selected. One that I really liked, Daisy Ridley, who said that this is part 2 of this trilogy, but it feels like its own standalone film. Really, really like that because I think it means that there's going to be like an arc within the movie that we're going to see resolved. Although, of course, things are going to be left for episode 9, but it won't be like, I didn't like that about The Force Awakens. It felt like things were just left. All these mystery boxes were left unaddressed. I don't think that's going to happen with The Last Jedi based on what we've heard.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think we are going to have like a brilliant third act. I'm hoping for it, you know, with everybody, with a big battle, and just, I'm really looking forward to it. That's why I've been avoiding spoilers, because it looks so amazing that I said, I want to experience this movie. I don't want to go there and know the thing beat by beat.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I went unspoiled for The Force Awakens. I deliberately avoided spoilers, nothing at all. I know you did the opposite, so you kind of went knowing what was going to happen. I really enjoyed finding everything out in the theater. I know way more now, but I'm also going to stay away. If the plot gets leaked online, I'm not going to read it. But to our viewers and our listeners, I just want to let you guys know we're a big collective. We have a lot of members. Some of our members are super into spoilers, and they are investigating stuff online and trying to piece things together. So just because Denise and I are not going to be talking spoilers doesn't mean that you won't have access to them through Star Wars Connection. It just means that other members are going to address that aspect of it.
Yeah. Or maybe we can all go unspoiled. Come on, let's do it. Come
no,
on.
I know there are people
be strong,
who are...
Be strong. Come on, you can resist.
Let's talk a little bit about, based on everything that we saw, what are your predictions? Let's recap. We talked about Luke and Leia. There's hints there that they're going to be reunited at some point. Maybe not, but we're hoping that's the case. Next thing that I would say, and this is going to come as a shock to our listeners, my bold prediction, Kylo's going to turn towards the light. I think that Kylo is getting set up for his redemption arc to begin. Based on what we've seen, I wonder if it's going to happen faster than I had been expecting, because I thought that even going into 9, he was still not going to be so far along. But now I'm wondering about that. We've just seen too many sad Kylo shots.
For Kylo, my prediction was, in the beginning, when I first saw that he was going to turn so early, was that maybe he would turn to the light and then kind of not turn again, but have his like winding road, you know, like with some
I see what you mean.
Turns.
Yeah.
Actually, I just did the one on Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it was before I did it, because we have that with Zuko. He spends an entire season, you know, becoming good, and then at the end does everything wrong. But I find it super brilliant.
I don't think they'll do that with Kylo, and I'll tell you why. I think that a lot of people aren't on board with him, whereas I think everybody loves Zuko. I think there's a lot of people that hate Kylo's guts, and if he did that, it would be like a betrayal to them. Like, oh, I started believing in you and you do this. So I think they're going to be careful with how they handle Kylo. So I don't think that he'll do like a big going good, and then, oh, back to the dark side again. But rather more like we'll see little signs adding up. That's my speculation anyway. Because I think that we'll see him appearing one way, and then maybe the viewers will get some access to him one-on-one, and then see what's going on internally. Kind of like when we saw him talking to the mask type thing. I don't think that it's going to come as a shock when he becomes good, but I don't think that he's going to do something bold early on either. So I think it's just going to be like little things here and there all adding up. Yeah, just speculating.
I actually think so too, because he's going good, and then falling was actually the moment with Han. But we have to remember that it's very likely that he's going to be fighting alongside Rey, because we saw those shots of them fighting a lot of people, unless they're doing similar things, they're both fighting.
I heard this online, really cool, and I hadn't even thought of it. What if it's the Knights of Ren that they're fighting off?
I wanted so much to see the Knights of Ren. They look so cool, and we saw them for like 3 seconds, 5 seconds in the movie.
But he said there weren't going to be any Knights of Ren in this movie, and if that's the case, it would be such a missed opportunity, even for the marketing. Like, I'd buy all those action figures if they were a backstory to them. So I wonder what they're doing. Like, they shouldn't have just introduced them and made them a thing if they weren't going to follow up on it. So I'm hoping that we will see some Knights of Ren action.
Yeah, maybe there is a backstory that we're gonna learn about. I hope it's resolved. It's not just whatever. There are no Knights of Ren.
Exactly. And then next thing that we talked about was that the Resistance looks like it's gonna be not in good shape early on. It looks like they're gonna take a few hits. The First Order is probably going to come out dominant for a while, and then likely that's going to get overturned towards the latter part of the movie. I'm wondering, is it Kylo that makes the difference? Is it Kylo that turns the tide? And there's got to be a reason why they're keeping Kylo so under wraps. There's something there that he does, or we'll see.
I hope he does something big and bold, and that would be super awesome. Yeah,
he has to do a bold, grand gesture type thing to convince people. It can't be anything subtle if you're going to try to get people on his side who hate him right now. Finn and Phasma, they're probably going to face off in a big way. And the reason why we say that is, aside because there's more Phasma, right? And she is going to be after Finn because he was the one who made her disabled the shields, which is the most ridiculous scene I have seen in any movie ever. She's got a personal vendetta against Finn now, and he probably hates her guts too. So they're kind of natural enemies now. But also, very interesting moment at the panel in D23 when Gwendolyn Christie was sharing the stage with John Boyega and Daisy Ridley, and they faced off and glared at each other, and then they kind of broke into little smiles, but they had that moment where they were facing off, and it seems like John Boyega played that up, like, oh, they're gonna fight it out, so expect to see that.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a good reunion.
Definitely. I think we agree on this, Denise, that the good guys are all gonna be reunited by the end of the movie. For me, it means that Luke and Rey are gonna leave, and it looks like they're leaving separately, and they're gonna join in on the fight, which looks like it's going to be happening on Crate.
And
that looks like it's going to happen in the third act, probably based on the clothing and the hair.
There are actually lots of action shots on the Bravnik as well for Canto Blight as well. So lots of important things are going to be happening there.
That's true.
We don't really know what it is because we're thinking about Snoke and the Force, and we don't really know what exactly is going to be happening over there in that place. It must be something important. It has to do with the First Order, but we can't quite picture what it is yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. Denise, you had mentioned something about a clue in one of the Canto Bight pictures, which with Benicio del Toro's character, DJ.
It's a shot where he's by BB-8.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that. Oh, that's cool.
We talked about how this DJ person is likely going to be working with the Resistance for a price, right? We had mentioned that before. So this kind of ties in with that. It means that if BB-8's there, Poe's there, right? Unless it's BB-8's evil twin. BB hate.
I think we've covered everything that we saw. What questions do we have left? I mean, tons of questions, but one thing I'm wondering is, does this mean that the spoilers have been right? And if so, does that mean that we can also give credence to some of the other things that they have pointed into? For example, the thing about Rey falling into the water, some kind of water thing with Rey, and Finn and Rose posing as officers and going back to fight the First Order, and DJ's hat, all of that stuff was spoiled way back when. So for those of you who are interested, maybe it's time to follow those leads and see what else those people said, because it sounds like they do have a connection that's legit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in that scene of Rey and Leia again, because it looks like it's the end of the movie, and it's just the two of them alone, and Leia looks sad, and I'm wondering what it is about. Maybe is it that maybe something of Kylo and Luke, they go somewhere, and what is the thing?
Yeah, you're right. It is interesting to think about them reuniting, and
that scene. There's something about that scene, but it's really epic. The way Leia looks. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. And you know what? I was thinking maybe there's something. If there is a sea monster, maybe there is something about this sea monster related to the Force or something. I hope.
What made you think that?
Don't know. I'm actually thinking something from Halo, because there's a creature that has tentacles and is actually whatever. Never mind. It's just my thinking. mixing stuff. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention quickly is the fact that Rian Johnson made a post on Instagram where he referred to Kylo Ren as this sweetheart. So I'll just leave you with that. Food for thought. What does it mean? Probably nothing, but it's still interesting because you can't say that of Darth Vader. You can't say that of Snoke. You can't call Darth Maul a sweetheart.
Yeah.
That's about it for us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We'd love to hear if there's something that you picked up on that we missed. You can write to us at StarWarsConnection09@gmail.com, or you can leave us a comment in our YouTube section. You can connect with us on Tumblr, and you can listen to our podcast on Mixcloud. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
He never spoke in the real. He never spoke in the real. So I'm sorry for my rant. I promise that I'm done, and I'm gonna move on from this. We will get through this together, like Ryan said.